I'm playing Curse now here for Pack 4 and Golden Armor plates. That's it.
Clutch Squad, what is up? And welcome back on into Perkaholics Anonymous Podcast, episode 22. It's Jeff. It's MZC. We are here again another week talking Call of Duty Black Ops 7 Zombies, in particular Cursed mode. We're going to go through all the relics, talk about them, how we feel about the mode, general thoughts, feelings, emotions, the community sentiment, and then we're going to make our way over to the glorious, the famous community corner. We have some great comments here to react to today in Perkaholics Anonymous Podcast, episode 22. Before we get into the upload, make sure you're hitting that like button. Make sure you're subscribed and have the bell notifications on so you don't miss a future upload from MZC. Comment down below how you're feeling about the Cursed mode in general. And if you're over listening on Spotify, shout out to you. You guys are real grinders over there. MZC, you've been into the mode, you've been grinding, you've been putting up these relics. Me and you played a little bit of tier 3 on stream the other night. The real ones caught that and saw that. Give me your general thoughts and intro here on this new mode.
All right, initial reactions right off the bat with Cursed. It feels like classic zombies right when you boot in, we'll forget about the different relics for now. We'll just do like the first initial playthrough of Cursed. You spawn in with your pistol. It's the classic point system. It's a completely different way to play the modern era of zombies compared to loading up in standard. You've got to basically rely on wall weapons, box weapons. You got to do different things. You got to, get your perks. It's a very different vibe, and it's honestly refreshing. It is a fun way to play and a different way to play to spice up the core gameplay of things. Obviously, with the relics, you got your different tiers of difficulties that you can get into. You've got your different difficulty modifiers with each individual relic. We'll talk about those individually just in a little bit here. But I will say the one thing about this mode is I said this when we did the initial roundtable with Afterlife, Donuts, and Stanley, is that I don't know how the mode and its replayability is going to hold up, especially with the difficulty modifiers. For me personally, I'm just like everyone else that's been really hunting these cursed relics and playing the mode nonstop. Now that we're kind of just at a standstill with the last one, I'm kind of just playing Cursed to play Cursed, and it's okay, I don't really like playing with a lot of these negative modifiers because I want golden armor, I want ultra rarity, I want pack 4. Those are fun things to play with and have. But I'm kind of not I don't really know if it's worth me putting up with shock mimic spawns or, enemy health regenerates and stuff like that. Obviously, you can kind of pick and choose to get to tier 3, but even then it's I don't know, I kind of want to just play with those things without having, the negative drawbacks. Maybe those will be super Easter eggs down the line, something else in the future. We'll see what happens there. But my one real drawback with the mode now is I actually don't like the point system if I'm trying to play Cursed just to play Cursed. Like I said, it's fun. I like spawning with a pistol. I like having to work my way up and do different things. But one, it feels like everything is artificially inflated in terms of the actual armor for golden armor, as the points for golden armor, as well as Pack-a-Punch 4. And I'm finding very quickly that there's not really as much variety as you think there is. If you want the wonder weapon, whether it's a ray gun Mark II, or the Necrofluid Gauntlet, you have to have a point building weapon on the side. Which, again, that's exactly how it was back in the old days, and I'm not saying that's a bad style of gameplay, and I'm sure people are having fun with it. I'm having fun with it. It's a nice challenge. It's a nice way to mix up the standard mode. But I'm kind of starting to not like being all right, every game I go and grab the Akita and just run around, and that's I don't even upgrade it. I feel like I'm being punished for upgrading my weapons in this mode too early because then I'm not gaining enough points, and the next thing you know, my weapons are weaker on the higher rounds, and it's almost like this fine balance of, it's fun to challenge yourself to work your way up and play with the wall weapons and play with the box weapons, and it feels good. It feels like gold zombies, but at the same time, it's I'm almost hindering myself and my progression in the mode just to be able to keep racking up points, especially for those golden armor plates, that pack 4. Jeff, obviously you've played a lot less of the mode. What are I know we kind of talked about this before we started recording. You're not really as entrenched in this yet. Obviously, you'll get there. You'll get the relics. We'll do tier 1s, 2, 3, tier 2, 3 in terms of the Easter eggs and whatnot. We did play tier 3 a little bit on stream the other night, but where are you sitting at as somebody that maybe hasn't? You're probably actually in like the 99% of people that are in the zombies community right now, where they're just getting into cursed after just beating the Easter egg after the boss nerf, or have been in cursed for a little bit but don't have all the relics or haven't had the time to go through and get all the relics. You're kind of in like probably the majority of people here versus me, who's been grinding cursed all weekend.
Yeah, and that's why I think me and you talked about this beforehand and pretty much came to the conclusion that this would be an interesting show, because you have seen all the relics, you've hunted them all except for the one that obviously everybody is missing, and then you've played the mode and you've been able to digest it after that. And I'm on the other side of the spectrum where, I only have 2 of the first 3 in the first tier. So to me, it's interesting because I think that for people who like the extra challenge, it's a mode of pros and cons, and that's basically what you were saying. For me, it keeps me interested so far in grinding and trying to get the new ones. It's been on my mind a lot. It's a mode that I've wanted to play, and it's something that every time I boot it up here, these last 24 hours, last couple of days that I've had a little bit of time to play, I'm only playing cursed. So the initial hunt, I think, is going to be fun for a lot of people. It gives you that nostalgia, the classic points. You don't have all this stuff popping up on your HUD. There's not objective markers anywhere, even just a little stuff where it kind of sits and makes you think like, hey, this is what zombies used to be. But I think that's part of the mode in its own sense as well. And why they couldn't just put this, to me, MZC, and I'm going a little bit bigger picture here off the top at the beginning of the episode, but I think it's important. They had to do something like this because it is jarring to just go from a regular game into a cursed game, and just how different the mode has changed over the years, for better or for worse. There's a huge, handful of people that maybe this is the only zombies, I'm talking just modern zombies in general, that they've played, or they like the new system and they might like the old system as well. And then you have a huge handful of people that just like the old system and, they've kind of fallen off of zombies, and to each their own and all those different rights. But even when you're, clearing the spores off of the, the power, the generators, it's like in Curse, that's a totally different experience because you don't have the timer popping up and everything, even going through and getting the necrofluid gauntlet and the timer step with that. I actually prefer to play that way more than the classic mode, but I'm on the same side as you, where I don't see, if I had to project my feelings and my thoughts out into the future, I don't really see the point once you have everything done in this to go back and play it, because why would I want to negatively affect myself for a couple of the cooler improvements and some of the cooler, buffs that you could get, so to say, especially, and this is no shade to Treyarch, like especially like reuse stuff, like golden armor, like we just saw that. I'm not saying that as commentary for the mode, but it's not like there's anything that you get from Cursed besides getting the relics where it makes you want to jump in and it gives you a huge advantage that we know of, at least, to playing the game compared to just hopping into a regular like Ashes of the Damned match that isn't on Cursed. But to me, before I throw it back over to you, I think another aspect of this is that players are actually going to enjoy this mode the more the game progresses. And I'll tell you that I'm thinking this way because right now it's almost more advantageous for me, especially on a weekend like this, a double XP weekend, double gum. And this is the kudos that I'm giving to Treyarch, that I'm still hopping in and doing this with everything going on, because I could easily be sitting on farm and camo grinding or getting my augment research, or just going for gums, going for weapon XP, going for regular XP. And that's really not an advantageous thing to do in curse mode, because you're trying to get the relics, you're trying to do the curses, you're trying to do the challenges. So I think once the majority of players have all the weapons they want leveled up, all the camos that they want, achieved and unlocked, all the gobblegums they want, all the weapon prestiges on like a DLC 3 or a DLC 4, I think that's when this mode is really going to shine, because that could be your main focus after you do the Easter egg on the map. It's for hardcore players, it's for players that want to do the extra challenge. But right now I'm trying to balance, where am I going to put my sweat equity into the game? Am I going to hop on and play Vandor Farm? If I have 90 minutes, am I going to hop on and play Vandor Farm for 90 minutes and probably get 1 or 2 guns gold and level up a lot quicker and get more gums? Or am I going to try to run around the map and get ether shrouds and get different parts of Mr. Peaks? That's where I think the mode is kind of struggling right now, but it has enough interest. It has enough intrigue in the community where I think this is a really big positive from Treyarch, and I'm very glad that this is something that's in the game.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. As the game goes on, it seems like there's going to be more and more, maybe not focus on Curse, but obviously they've already confirmed that they'll be releasing new relics as the year goes on with different maps. Well, I don't know if it'll be 9 per map, but maybe like 1 tier 1, 1 tier 2, 1 tier 3 difficulty relic per map, which is nice. Then you get towards the end where, yeah, like you said, it's going to be very, very difficult. But I think what they need to figure out with this mode, and I like that the ability to earn relics is still tied to completing the main Easter egg. And I know we could go down this whole boss fight conversation. We already talked about that so much last week, and people know where we stand on that. But, like there are still so many people that just haven't even, maybe have like booted up Curse, but maybe don't even know that like the relics exist. Maybe don't even know like how to get the relics because they haven't beat the main Easter egg. Like today on stream, I tried to help some people through the main Easter egg as like an open lobby, and there are a lot of people that have not beaten it. Usually last year when I would do that, have an open lobby and try and help some people, the majority of people are like, oh, I already did it, but I'll do it again, or I love to do it again, or there's a couple people here or there that, hey, I haven't had time to play it, but I'm down to do it. Let me hop in here. Versus today, it's like everybody's coming in the stream. It seems like 70-80% of people are like, I haven't beat it yet, I need help, or I can't get past the boss or whatever. And if you're one of those people that you really want to get into Cursed and you want to get these relics, I would almost say learn the Easter egg solo at this point, because the boss fight is very, very easy in solo. Like if you're going in with your friends, like today, I don't think I did 2 runs. The first one I crashed, second one we died. But it's still a pretty tough boss fight in co-op. But if you're looking to get into Curse to do these relics, obviously you can play your standard. But if you want to earn these relics and you want to start progressing through Curse to get those alternate Pack-a-Punch camos, definitely do it in solo and try and knock them out there. But yeah, it seems like they haven't even really scratched the surface with Curse, because it's locked to such a hardcore player base right now, which isn't a bad thing at all. I don't want them to go away from what they're doing here. I think this is the perfect reward for people that go and do the Easter egg on day 1, day 2. But it seems like Curse hasn't even hit its like peak yet, or even like interest at all, period. The interest in it seems a little pretty low, but I think that's really just due to the Easter egg completion rate. So, but yeah, that makes your point a lot better, where it's like, okay, as the year goes on, and maybe they let people who go through and do this in directed next week or in season, whenever they add the directed in for Ashes, to have the ability to earn the cursed relics and pick those up and do the Easter eggs. We'll probably see this mode pick up a lot better. But yeah, we're still in the early days of this stuff. And you're right, it is very interesting that you're choosing not to go and level up your camos or your weapons or your rank. You're sticking to Curse to try to get these relics, because they're catering to your type of playstyle, which is the hardcore players, and it's pulling you away from what otherwise would be the no-brainer. Go get your gums now, go get your camos done, your rank up, and get that out of the way, because that's usually how we play at the start of games.
And I don't want this to sound like it's like sounds negative toward Treyarch, and obviously I have no confirmation of this. This is just all my interpretation of the situation, and it's fine the way I'm looking at it. But to me, it almost seems like maybe in the back rooms of Treyarch and Activision Studios, they pitched a variation of Cursed for one of these games, and the people that deal with like the player numbers were like, yeah, this isn't going to have enough people to be able for us to justify it as the main structure of the game, but we're willing to give it to you as a substructure of the mode because you already have it fleshed out, or you already have it designed, or you already have it theorized, because 2026 is gonna in all likelihood going to be a gap year for Treyarch, if not longer. If it, me and you have been talking about, if it sounds like maybe the next game isn't for a couple of years even. And that's all skeptical and, up for conversation and topic, whether, how the Zombies franchise is going to do moving forward. But it's almost like Black Ops 7 was kind of like the just kind of dump everything onto it at the end of the day. The double XP tokens, the engines getting upgraded, whatever it may be, however you want to look at it. So I do agree with you that this is catering to a really, really small subset of players. There's really nothing wrong with that, as long as they continue to build out from it from here. And it does feel like they will. Like this feels totally different than anything they did in Black Ops 6. Like it didn't feel like, oh, we're bringing grief to the mode. No, this is a totally different experience. This is way better, way more ready to go. And I think it does bring in a different player base where, hey, if there's really nothing for you to do after you beat the main quest of the boss, what's the point? What's the replayability of some of the features of the Easter egg for the main maps? And they did some of, they dabbled in some of this in Black Ops 6. It was kind of on the horizon. You could see where they were going, whether it be the round 100 boss fights in some of the maps in Black Ops 6, or even just some of the, the curses and the buffs carrying over. Like, I think most people, and I think this is where you're coming from, where maybe Curse just isn't 100% of what you had thought it would be. But I mean, think about the Tomb. Like, I think most players would just, hey, I'm going to do a challenge that's difficult to get golden armor, but the rest of the game is going to stay the same, where it doesn't feel like every other aspect has been tweaked to back to the classic point system, or, pack-a-punch and rarities are increased and things of that nature. So you could see they've been flirting with this idea for at least 18 months, I would say, of development time. I'm glad that it's in the game. I think it's interesting. The hunt has been fun to watch as a casual observer of how people are going about finding some of the steps to get into the, to get the relics and things like that. So I think it's a pretty good success from Treyarch's side of the perspective as far as player sentiment. Now, do all their internal metrics and their player base, is that going to reflect it, in that sense? I would say probably not, but who knows at the end of the day.
What the map gives us. But yeah, dude, do you want to get into some of these different difficulty modifiers and talk about the relics themselves? I mean, we're not going to go like step by step. Oh, this is how you get the lawyer's pen. This is how I got the Sphere. But just talk about what they are, which ones we think are cool, which ones we don't like, or, how we would combo these.
Right. So might as well start with that first tier, that first row of relics. So we have the lawyer's pen, we have the dragon wings, and we have the teddy bear. So for the lawyer's pen, shock mimic spawn, the dragon wings normal power-up spawns are disabled, and the teddy bear round start delay cut down by 75%. So this is kind of your intro into the mode. I think they did a good job with this tier. Besides maybe, and like I said, I haven't gotten all of them, so I know there's harder ones further down. The peak step is a little bit annoying to me, but I've only really attempted it one time and kind of struggled with it, so I'm sure I'll be able to figure it out and get it done probably tonight here after actually we hop off. So that's the next one that I have to do. I have the first two in this tier, but I think these are, this was a good introduction to the hunt, and I think that this is the best real way that I could see for them to introduce the mode. And I think that I would like them to stay in the teddy bear, relic like vein. The round start delay cut down by 75%. It's stuff like that where you don't really think of it, but you could apply that and play it with most people. And I think that a lot of people would understand that and find that interesting and fun and a little bit harder, but it's not like, oh, I'm never gonna select that, I'm never gonna not play with that. Like, that is, I think, the theme that they really should stick with and they really should go for moving forward. I'm curious to hear how you think about this tier, this first tier, because honestly, I think the relics are cool. Like, when I get a good reward, a good feel of, serotonin when it pops up on the screen and, oh, you unlock the dragon wings and they give you a little bit of XP, and the actual trials to do it they're not extremely difficult, but they're not walks in the park. You have to strategize. You have to think one step beyond normal classic zombies. And that's really going to be my whole point with this episode, is that this had to be accompanying how they have the setup now. Like, beating Vatherion and beating Ash's Easter egg had to be the way to unlock this, because if this was the standalone mode, or if it was a classic, more classic vibe, there's no juxtaposition. There's no difference in the play style. I think one can't really succeed without the other for Black Ops 7. At least that's what I'm thinking. People are really going to have that sentiment toward the game where it's like, oh, they might kind of enjoy just classic mode, or whatever we want to call it, but they also, you have to do the main Easter egg to be able to get it unlocked, to be able to get Curse unlocked. So you have to get yourself introduced to the map. You have to be able to beat the boss fight to even start doing any of this. I think it's a good sequencing from Treyarch on how they want their game to be played, which is something that maybe they've been missing in these last couple renditions of modern zombies with Black Ops 6 and Cold War. But I really do enjoy this first tier for sure.
Yeah, the first tier, what I like about it too is like the first one that was found was the Dragon Wings, where it's like you take the jump pad and 3 giant, like hard to miss. Like that's obviously something new that wasn't there in the regular mode that you notice right away. You shoot them and then that spawns the first trial. I like how they ease into the difficulty of like how things are found, because, you know, when this came out, it's like, what am I expecting here? You know, like, are they physical relics that you can pick up and equip? And like, you know, you pick up the Dragon Wings, you put them on, but now that's like the modifier there. You know, there wasn't really much known about this mode outside of what they told us, which is usually a good, that doesn't ever happen. You know, usually we've got a really good idea of what we're getting ourselves into. To me, it reminded me of the augment system from last year. Like going into BO6, I was like, okay, what the hell are these augments? Like, how are these going to play? How are we going to unlock them? You don't really notice. You don't really have like I didn't have a good grip on like what was going to happen, right? And then as you start to do it, you're like, okay, I actually like these augments, and here with these, you know, at least the first tier of relics, it's like, okay, I like the way we're doing this. You know, they're not like incredibly difficult to find. Like once you know what you're doing, like they're not really too difficult to do. But it's like, you know, get to round 20 and then do this, or get to round 40 and do this. So it's cool. Yeah, like you said, the teddy bear one I think is my favorite in tier 1, because it's like you get almost like a permanent rampage inducer without turning it on by cutting down the start delay by 75%. That's one that like I will always use, because it's not as much of a hindrance to be like, you know, maybe I want to get to tier 2 or I want to get to tier 3, but I don't want to have shock mimics spawn at every fucking corner of the map. Like, I'm just going to put the teddy bear one on and substitute that for the lawyer's pen. So I think it's a good way. And I think that like each of these tiers should have like one that's like moderate difficulty, where it's like, yeah, it's an annoyance. Like the round start delay, there's not going to be much time to think in between rounds or whatever, much time to do anything. But I would rather have that than just the annoyance of the mimics, because mimics aren't hard to deal with. They're pretty weak, but it's like, dude, I don't want to be doing this. I don't want these guys spawning. The normal power-up spawns are disabled. That's one that's like, you know, you don't really notice that from a points perspective or an insta-kill perspective, but where you really feel that is when you don't have ammo and you have to constantly be hitting the ammo crates.
Right.
Or armor. Yeah, so it's like, man, I got to really spend more points or salvage to regenerate these goodies. Otherwise, I'm going to be at a severe disadvantage. And like, I really noticed that one with the ammo itself. But yeah, tier 1's a nice kind of like ease into it, both from like a hunting and finding the relics themselves perspective, and also just like the damage or the difficulty modifiers that are accompanying with these. And then going into tier 2, we have the Vril Sphere, one that we're missing. We know it's like a Samantha drawing from DE, but then the focusing stone as well. The Vril Sphere is players can only carry 4 perks, and then the other one for the focusing stone is no self revives. So this is another one where it's like, you know, if you're just playing for like a casual modern, you know, a casual experience that kind of feels like the good old days, maybe you throw on the Vril Sphere and the teddy bear so that you have, you know, not really anything crazy going on, like, oh, I can't get a, you know, a revive in solo, or I can't, you know, get max ammos to drop after a special round. And again, the quests here for tier 2, you have to get to around 40 to be able to do these ones. So again, it's more of a, you know, here we go. Difficulty scales up. You got to put more time into the mode if you want these higher tier relics. But then the reward for this one is getting a ultra rarity, which is 8,000 salvage on top of the salvage you'd spend to get to legendary rarity. Now, we use this in tier 3. And we'll talk about tier 3 Pack-a-Punch in a minute, but I don't feel like the ultra rarity does enough. Like, it doesn't, when I get it on my weapon, it doesn't feel like, yes, okay, it's round 35, it's round 40, I just got ultra rarity, I am kitted out, I'm ready to go. Even when I use a hidden power on round 1 and then get ultra rarity by like round 20, 25, I don't feel like it's pushing the weapon enough for a tier 2 modifier or a tier 2 difficulty to be like, this is like, oh my God, what if, you know, wow, I just spent 8,000 salvage on that. And my whole goal for getting into tier 2 was to be able to get ultra rarity. I think that needs a buff in terms of its damage, because it doesn't feel as powerful. Maybe, who knows, maybe they'd buff it and it'd just become way too easy. And then up until the health cap, and even through past that, you're just like, every weapon is viable. But it just doesn't feel like the jump from, you know, a blue rarity to a legendary rarity, or a purple rarity to an ultra rarity. It just, I don't know, something about it just doesn't feel like it's scaled properly or enough for me to be like, I'm going into tier 2. Like when I'm playing Curse now, I'm strictly just like, I'm here for pack 4 and golden armor plates. That's it. I'm not really even concerned with the ultra rarity.
Well, that's the thing too. I think the primary problem that they might have right now, and maybe it'll be it probably should be different for other maps, is tier 1 doing that gives you the golden armor. Well, to me, like if you're thinking about being in tier 3 and beating the boss, that's the one I want the most. Yep. So what sense does that make, having that be the reward for tier 1? The best buff should be for getting tier 3 done. Does that not make, is that making sense? No,
you're right. I wonder if they're almost thinking at it as like a perspective of like, oh, because like they're like, oh, cursed is going to be harder. I know. I put out a tweet.
So they got to give them good stuff earlier.
Yeah,
maybe.
But like, here's the argument for that. Like, I put out a tweet the other day for like kind of bitching about the Vatherion nerf. Again, I know we're in the minority here. At least at the beginning, we were in the minority. I think they went too hard with it. We're not going to spend time. We could do a whole episode on this if we were really because we're passionate about it, but
2 episodes even.
Yeah, we could spend an entire week talking about the nerf to the boss and why we think it's bad. But I put out a tweet kind of grilling it a little bit, not really necessarily Treyarch, but the community, because I feel like, again, we sit here and ask for harder difficulty and the game to be much harder, and it's too easy, and then we get something like that, and then at the first sign of adversity, it's, oh, well, it's too hard and I can't beat it, and I'm not a pro gamer and I don't have all day to spend learning the boss fight, I should be able to do this on my 3rd, 4th try, I should be able to beat it every time. Like, again, we're moving on from that, but one of the devs replied to me and said, hey, if you tried doing it in Cursed, it's much harder. And I actually completely disagree with that. It's actually easier in Cursed because you have the regenerative armor plates in
it's way easier, I think.
Absolutely, because you don't have to get out of the car or the truck, you don't have to replate, you don't have to use a shields up, you don't have to use you don't even have to hit the free armors drops that spawn when you're in the middle of the boss fight in between stages. It's so much easier in Cursed, and I did it on my first
even
try.
Even pre-nerf, when me and you were running a 2-player, even pre-Vatherion nerf, I was fully confident. In tier 3, we failed the first try and we played very bad. I fully believe the second, if we ran that back again, I think we would have beat it.
Absolutely.
Not a guarantee, obviously, because the bosses it was random. It was kind of you could get jobbed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But it's like, I kind of think that, the regenerative armor is the golden armor is the best thing in the game. It was the best thing in Black Ops 6. Yep. Not even close, in my opinion. I mean, outside of gums and stuff, like, would I take golden armor like a Perkaholic? I mean, I'd probably take a Perkaholic, but at the end of the day, interestingly enough, the more I look at this and the more we talk about it, I wonder if it ever crossed their mind, or if this is something maybe they should consider, but instead of setting it up as like tier 1 is the easiest, tier 3 is the hardest, tier 2 is supposed to be the middle, allegedly, even though the one that we can't find as a community is in tier 2, which is kind of interesting to me in its own right. But I wonder if they could think about it like they're thinking about it like rows right now. They're thinking about it left to right. I wonder how it would work if they thought about it top down. So imagine you have points, like assign points to difficulties in each row. But you could activate them, and you activate them in columns almost. So it's like, okay, there's a 1, 2, and 3 difficulty in each row from left to right, let's say. So you unlock all 9 of them. Well, the far left, if you want to equip all the 1s and beat the boss fight, you get lesser rewards. But if you go to the far right and activate all the 3s all the way down, you might get better buffs, but it's going to be more difficult, but you get better rewards. You see what so it's almost like a point system. It's almost like, okay, I just beat Vatherion on Cursed with 3 points. Well, that was me selecting all of the quote unquote like easiest relics, like the easiest nerfs, and then somebody beat it with with 9 points. They selected all the hard difficulty ones. Now maybe that's arbitrary, maybe people would disagree with that, but like, think about what we have now. What would be the 3 most difficult ones, you think, for a boss fight? Enemy health regenerates, you could only carry 4 perks, and what, all augments are turned off? I mean, I'm just saying, for example, maybe people would disagree with that. Maybe you would disagree with that, but it's kind of interesting how they took the approach. I don't think they did anything wrong, but there's almost more customizability within the mode that they could go with it if they wanted to in the future. But yeah, it is weird that golden armor is like the first thing that they give you, even though the top row is really the easiest group of relics.
Right. No, I see what you're saying there. They kind of have it set up like that once you have them all unlocked, but I see what you're saying, where like you have to unlock them a different way instead of it just being 3 easy ones, 3 medium ones, 3 hard ones, and then moving forward from there.
Like there's a hard one in each category, but you could, I'm basically asking for a rework of the mode, which we're not trying to do here because we think it's good. We think it's fine where it is. It's just interesting to have this discussion back and forth.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and again, like getting into the last ones, we talked about the difficult or what they do and whatnot with the ammo crates, the augments being turned off, and the enemy health regenerates. But like Pack 4, again, it's really good. Like the camo is amazing. It's really good. It's good. It's better than the ultra rarity. But it's like, is it really enough to move me to go to that length to get it when I'm not even going to use it on the boss fight? And like maybe it'll be better. Maybe they thought ahead. But okay, Astra's going to be a map where you need really, your weapons need to be strong in order to do this. But then again, it's like, well, I know you're going to have the difficulty modifiers where you can only carry 4 perks or enemy health regenerates or augments are turned off, and that'll help you, in curse. But then it's like, okay, but golden armor plates is going to make it pretty easy, I'm assuming. If the weapons are going to be that much better with ultra rarity and 4th pack-a-punch, wouldn't that make the boss fights easier in curse? Because even with augments now, augments are really good. You feel them when they're not on, especially like Jug or Quick Revive with no dying wish and whatnot. But at the same time, they're not as broken as they were last year. They seem a little bit more balanced, especially something like PhD was obviously the best augment last year where you could just super slide around the map. That's not there anymore.
Correct.
So it's not like you're going from, I have PhD super slider against Richtofen in the boss fight where you can basically skate on ice away from him, to now being like, I'm stuck in the mud just like running around without that sliding, with even just a base sliding ability. Like the augments they're really good, but they're not, I feel like, as impactful as they were last year. The broken ones aren't as broken as they were last year, if that makes sense.
We almost beat it first try without augments.
Yeah, that's how easy. I mean, I don't want to say that's how easy it was, but that was before the nerf too. So it's
exactly.
like, it was.
You are right. They're not that good. They're better last year, definitely,
for sure. But I mean, we'll see. With Astra and then all the other DLC maps coming down the line, like, will they really? Will Pack 4 be more impactful in DLC 2 and 3's Cursed versus how it is here, where it's like, it's good, it's cool against the zombies. But then again, like I said, in order to get to that point, to get Pack 4, you basically have to be like, I'm sacrificing a weapon that I would use, and I can't even upgrade this weapon because I need the points. I need a 200,000 essence basically to get Pack 4. So if I want Pack 4 on the Wonder Weapon, I have to have a shitty shotgun that's not going to kill, or a shitty weapon that's not going to kill, and just run around in circles and shoot into the horde over and over and over again, and then not use the Wonder Weapon at all until it gets to Pack 4 in order to maximize the points and get that as fast as I possibly can. Which again, some people like classic point system. I like it too, but I also don't like playing, not every game at least. I don't like, this isn't my full mode where I like playing it like it's 2010 Ascension, where I have the MP5K from the wall buy, but I have the Thunder Gun in my back pocket, and I'm not using the Thunder Gun because I have to build up points for Pack-a-Punch, for perks, and to be able to just constantly, shoot into the zombies and have the most points that I can, so that if I have to trade the Thunder Gun out, like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, maybe this is just where it's a personal opinion here, but I do feel like it's almost like, I don't know, like the whole mode now seems like get a wall weapon and just try and cheese it all the way up to golden armor plates and Pack 4 if you're playing in tier 3. And at that point, it's like, do I even really want to do all that and spend basically, let's say, 2 hours setting up versus the hour it would normally take to get to that point of fully kitted out, maxed out, and start pushing high rounds. So it's a different philosophy. Some people like it, some people hate it. I'm not saying I hate it, but I don't know. And I'm not complaining either. I don't want them to they don't really need to make any changes here. This is just our opinions, but I'm not saying like this mode is terrible, and unless they do this, and this, like, it's not going to be a good mode. Because it's a good mode. Like I said, I enjoy playing it. I enjoy hopping on, but for me personally, it's not, I'm only playing in Cursed. Like, that's just not how it is for me, especially once, like double XP's on, or I'm camo grinding. It's just not the mode for that for me. Well, it was the mode to hop on and have some fun with starting pistol, and maybe go and get Pack 4, whatever, for sure. But at the same time, like, to get Pack 4, I also have to deal with either augments being turned off, ammo crates being disabled, which is a huge problem, especially in the modern era. Like, I have to burn gobble gums essentially to get those. Possibly shock mimics being turned on, not having self revives, only 4 perks unless I use gobblegums to get a perkaholic. And I'm not saying this is a pay to win mode for sure. I'm just saying, like, I almost don't want the annoyance. For me personally, I don't like the annoyance of that when pack 4 and ultra rarity isn't blowing me away like, oh my god, every weapon is now just insta killing zombies up into the 40s, and then like just as good as a normal weapon would be at 30 when you hit the health cap. Like, it's just not, I don't know. It's a personal issue here for me that, again, it's not a bad mode, but it's not an everyday staple for me.
Yeah, and I mean, we're 22 episodes into the Perkaholics Anonymous podcast. I think we've collectively, jointly found the one thing that Treyarch has done where it's kind of like we're basically right down the middle on it. Like, it's good, it's fine. The point is it's a side mode for hardcore players. It achieves its point. Is there changes they could make? Maybe, but we'd like to see it continue. There's really nothing to complain about. There's nothing to be over the moon about. Sometimes you need stuff like that in games. Sometimes, it's when you direct something and you put development time into something that's for a small niche of players, that's probably what you're going for as a team, in my opinion. Like, I've only seen a couple of complaints about, oh, maybe the brain rot challenge or whatever it may be, but I've seen a lot of people say, oh, classic point's awesome. Yeah, I don't like all the HUD displays and stuff popping up. I like no loadouts. It really has changed modern zombies and how they feel for me. Perfect. That's probably what you're looking for, if you're looking at community sentiment. But even this last tier, MZC, so the bus with enemy health regenerates, the dragon head disables all ammo crates, and the blood vials turn all augments off. The bus, to me, that's kind of the hard part of balancing this, and where I understand that, being a developer is difficult because, like, who's picking that? Unless you're explicitly trying to give yourself a challenge, nobody's picking the enemy health regenerates, right, especially if you're going in there trying to beat Vatherion. Like, I don't see, but if you don't want to make stuff too easy, right? But if you make stuff too difficult, it's like, hey, I don't have to select all of these technically to get into tier 3. So if something is clear head and shoulders ahead in difficulty, it's just not going to get used. So I commend and applaud them for taking a stab at something like this. I feel like they found exactly where it needs to be. You're not going to be able to please everybody, especially in a small subset of people. But to me, it's interesting. It's intriguing. I can understand when you're done finding all of them, the replayability goes down. But the first time experiencing it, going 1 through 9 and getting everything unlocked, it definitely has the appeal for new players that have already beaten Ashes of the Damned Easter Egg that still need something to do. Maybe if you're not a camo grinder, maybe if you don't really care about prestiging, if you don't care about leveling up and unlocking all the augments, it's something there for a different group of people, which I do appreciate.
No, 100%. Like I said, it's all comes down to personal opinion and how you feel about the mode. Like, if you genuinely cannot stand modern zombies, this is probably going to be the mode for you. This is something you're going to want to do, even if it's not 1-to-1 exactly like how it was back in the day. It's still a step in the right direction, and I feel like it's a good hybrid for what they're trying to go for. But you're absolutely right. Unless you're specifically going into the tier 3 boss fight and you want all 9 relics equipped for, whether it's a dark ops, I'm assuming there's dark ops for this once it's found, or a challenge where you're like, I'm trying to beat it with all these relics or the hardest ones equipped. Like, I don't know who's picking enemy health regenerates just to be like, oh, I'm gonna go play and get pack 4 because I want to get pack 4 and I want to use that camo and I want to see what they do on these weapons. I don't know who's picking that one. Me personally, I'm not doing that. And ammo crates being disabled, that's cool, but then, like, you can't have the dragon head and the teddy bear equipped at this. Or no, sorry, the dragon wings and the dragon head equipped unless you have gobblegums, because it's like,
right.
I mean, I guess I don't think you can buy ammo from a wall weapon anymore. I don't think you can go up to the wall weapon and buy ammo for. I could be wrong there, but
that's interesting.
But yeah, but even then, like, let's say I get the Mark II. How the fuck do you get ammo for that again if there's no power up spawning and there's no ammo crates on the map? What do you do there besides use gobblegums? And I'm not advocating like, oh, it's pay to win and they need to get rid of these. I like the challenges here, and obviously if you're just trying to do this, but like, how are you gonna do that? If they have all 9 relics equipped here to go in and beat the Vatherion boss fight with everything, you're gonna have to challenge yourself with no gums to like constantly be trading out weapons and whatever. But then it gets into the question of like, you can't upgrade your weapons because you need points, and if you have to constantly trade out weapons to get more ammo with both those relics equipped, then it's like I'm just running around extending the time I'm in this mode just because I have to. I don't know. It's a challenge. It's different. It's fun mode. It's really, really cool. The one thing before we get into the community corner here that I want to touch on is in the dev talk the other day, they mentioned that they were looking into bringing Curse to the survival maps. I don't think that tier 1, tier 2, tier difficulty is going to work in Van Dorn Farm or in like, and I'm sure you like it'll work. You can do it. I don't know how many people are actually going to play that way. Where I think that Cursed would really, really thrive in the survival maps is just the standard Cursed with no relics equipped. Like if
exactly.
That's where I think you should your head should be at when they say we're looking at bringing Cursed over, because like nobody is going, in my opinion, unless you're just out there challenging yourself, is going to select enemy health regenerates on Van Dorn Farm or ammo crates are disabled on Van Dorn Farm. Maybe that one, because that's not a classic one, but like all augments, no self-revive, only carry 4, like that one maybe, but like shock mimics on Van Dorn Farm, I don't think so. Like I think where the expectation should be there, and like maybe they'll surprise me and they'll bring all the different relics into the survival maps, but like where your head should be at for Cursed coming to survival maps, in my opinion, should just pretty much be standard Curse, spawn in with a pistol, pack a punch costs more money, maybe even just slap like the pack 4 and the golden armor plates and stuff in those maps just for the fun of it without the relics. But I don't know, I feel like I would never, I'm not booting up Van Dorn Farm or Exit 115 Diner in Cursed with these relics equipped. I'm just not, for me personally, I'm not going to do that. But I think the base playlist of just having the pistol spawn in there and have to rely on the wall weapons and the box weapons, that's where I think it would not only thrive for people like me, but also the average classic fan that maybe doesn't want to go through and get all these relics, period. That would be really, really cool to see for, maybe people that don't want to spend 3 hours on the Ashes of the Damned boss fight, die 5 times over, and then not unlock Cursed. Just have that standard playlist available for people to hop in and be like, okay, yeah, this is classic zombies. This is spawn into a small map, and you got a pistol and the classic point system and all that good stuff. Maybe you can, that's where I think our head should be at with that. But I don't know how they would. I don't even know like why anybody would hop in with all that, other than like a one or 2 time challenge. Maybe it's just me personally. I'm just giving you my thoughts.
No, and honestly, Curse is interesting projecting this game forward too, because you almost have to assume that, yeah, maybe not every map is Ashes of the Dam size, but if they have Cursed thought of as like a parallel like racetrack with Black Ops 7, right with the regular mode, these maps have to be pretty sizable, at least from the example they've set with Ashes of the Damned. And I don't understand really how that works in Farm. Like even for the first tier, like, okay, I'm jump padding from farm to spawn and shooting the things, and then I'm literally all around the map getting different parts of Mr. Peaks. Like the map layout and size, it's not totally built for Curse. I'm not saying that, but it's kind of built with Cursed in the back of their mind. So how do you even fit all these different relic challenges? And the hunt doesn't make any sense to me on a survival map. Like it's all right there. What's the point?
I don't even think that they would have I don't even think they'd have any individual relics to find on those maps, though. I think it would just strictly be like, hey, you go into
They're
Ashes,
just porting the mode over.
Yeah, you just you go into Ashes of the Dam to find the relics, and then you can use the relics on Van Dorn Farm. Which is like,
they would have to,
obviously there wouldn't. I can guarantee you that there's not going to be maybe like 1 relic or 2 relics or something like that on a small map like that, or one fun one to do. But there's not going to be 3-4 relics in every survival map if they do port this over. I genuinely just think it'll be maybe they will put all the relics in there, and they'll just be like, hey, you can equip these if you want, whatever. But I almost feel like that would just be, I mean, unless it's as easy as Control-C, Control-V, I don't even know if I would waste the time to bring all those options in, other than maybe like 4 perk players carry 4 perks, ammo crates disabled. Right. That's about it. Like anything that's like strictly classic, but like I don't know I would love to see the numbers on how many people are equipping the bus relic
exactly
on Van Dorn Farm. Like even just the average person booting it, I don't know about that one. But I mean, if they can do it as easy as just Control-C, Control-V, do it. Like it's not hurting anybody. It's just, I don't know. I think where I see it going towards is just give me Cursed when you load in with a pistol and put me on a survival map, and I'm playing that a lot. That's a fun little bonus thing for me to do and fun way to play the game that's not just spawn in with whatever weapon I want, and I got to think about whether or not I want to hit the box or get a wall weapon. That's kind of the gist of Cursed for me. All these other relics and things are a fun one-time challenge through to unlock a camo and beat the boss fight and get some XP, but I don't know how much I'm really going to be sweating tier 3 cursed just for the 4th Pack-a-Punch ability outside of content. Maybe it's just me.
No, I hear you there. I think that makes sense, and what you're saying makes sense. But yeah, let's transition over. Let's stroll over to Community Corner. Guys, if you're not following MZC on Twitter at MZC369, over on X, excuse me, go follow him over there, because sometimes he puts out posts and says, hey, drop your reply in the comments and it'll be featured on Perkaholics Anonymous podcast potentially. He's been doing that for the last couple here, which is, we've got a good variety of people from YouTube, from X. So we're going to start over here with a guest, friend, and absolute stud. Stanley557 says, honestly, oh my God, very handsome. Cool cat too. Definitely a cool cat. He said, honestly, not liking it as much as I thought I would. Easter egg requires heavy investment in weaponry, so I just stick with the Echo 12 since it's a guaranteed weapon to do well. Gameplay is nearly identical to standard, just more point grinding for Pap. Honestly, I wonder if part of the, and I'm curious to hear what you think about this, MZC, I'm wondering if part of the studio's rationale for nerfing Vatherion is that people were just enjoying it so much in regular, they didn't have a lot of incentive to go play Cursed and actually beat it because it was so hard in regular. And I understand we just kind of had that whole conversation that it's a little bit easier in Cursed with the golden armor, but I think people made a good point, like, hey, keep the original Vatherion difficulty level in Cursed and just nerf the regular, just standard Ashes of the Damned Easter egg, which is kind of an interesting thought, but I totally get where Stanley's coming from here.
Yeah, I think Stanley and I are in the exact same boat here, where it's just like, I mean, I didn't go into it thinking like, oh my God, this is going to be the mode that I play every single day and I'm never going to play standard. I went into it being like, I'll probably play standard more than Curse, but it'll be a fun little gimmick or something for me to do when I'm just burnt out on playing the same way every single day. He's absolutely right. Easter egg requires heavy investment in weaponry. Stick with the Echo 12. Stanley, switch over to the Akita. Trust me, you'll be frying a little bit better there. I like it a little bit more than the Echo 12. But yeah, gameplay really is nearly identical to standard, aside from just you're limiting yourself to essentially one weapon you really want to upgrade and then another weapon that you don't upgrade and just go for points. And it's just, I don't know. Again, that's where the mode has really evolved over time, where back in 2010 and 2008 and 2015, like that was the move. You get your wall weapon, you get your MP40, you get your MP5K, you get whatever weapon, the STG, and you just point farm while you set up your other gun and your perks and your Pack-a-Punch, and that's how you play the game every single time, where, the mode's kind of evolved into something completely different, which again, some people love it, some people hate it. If you like playing the old stuff, there you go. This game's for you. But for me personally, I'm a wonder weapon player. My objective has always been, since I was a kid, I'm going to get the wonder weapon either from the box or by building it, and that's the weapon that I'm trying to get in order to set up my high round strategy or play with. If I'm going for that, I would like it to do, get me points. I know that people want drawbacks with the wonder weapons, and that's a big problem with the modern zombies, is that there aren't very many drawbacks for them, especially since you can buy ammo for them. But I don't know. I've gotten to a point now where I'm just like, I don't need, I would rather just get to around 50 in 50, 60 minutes, just getting a wonder weapon and just playing with it, rather than spending 2.5 hours using a weapon that's not killing zombies, but I'm strictly just farming points. Like, to me, I feel like I, as a player, have mentally, me personally, again, I'm not talking down anybody in the slightest in this, if you still enjoy the opposite. Like I said, played a few times, really enjoy that a few times. It's a different mix up from how modern zombies is, but I'm getting past the point of being like, I don't want to keep farming points and strategically not upgrading my weapon just to get more points so that I can upgrade it later down the line. Like, again, the way that I've been playing Cursed is I physically will not upgrade my weapon, because then you're not going to get as many points as if you just left it Unpack-a-Punch, which I don't like it. I'm kind of getting past that point, but it's fine. Everybody has their own thing. It's a little gimmick for me, but hey, I don't know.
And I think Curse, with you saying that, I think Curse has kind of shown maybe your average modern zombies player who maybe played some of the older games that, hey, like, this setup that we have now is a lot more player friendly and it's a lot more sequentially advantageous to the individual player compared to a mode like Curse. But I also understand people on the other side, like, hey, that's kind of like, that's the point. That's why I enjoy zombies. It's supposed to be a little bit more difficult. It is you versus non-players at the end of the day. So there has to be some sort of skill differentiation and, kind of skill barrier. But it's an interesting conversation. I think most people that just the core mechanics of each mode, regular and cursed, I think most people would take like your standard game of Ashes of the Damned over a cursed if you have all the relics unlocked and there's, you're not hopping into explicitly get a relic. But it's good conversation. It's good, it's good to talk back and forth and get the community sentiment on all things with this mode. And moving over to Revived Gamer HD over on X. He says, fantastic mode, but needs a few must-need changes. 1, the brain rot relic is pitiful and shouldn't be gated behind round 60. In general, I would like the relics to scale, so if you're co-op, it should require a lower round. And we need the PAP camo rewards to be universal. All right, I'm kind of going to go in reverse order here, MZC. PAP camo universal, I'm going to let you take care of that because I know that's big intrigue for you. I totally agree, obviously. The co-op scaling is interesting that it would be lower. I understand where he's coming from there. I think Ashes of the Damned is so incentivized for you to play with other people as well. I don't know if that's like a much needed change. And then I do have to disagree a little bit with the first, sentence of the argument that the gate. All right, round 60, I get it. That's hard. That's difficult. But like, Treyarch did kind of come out and say like, hey, this is for your hardcore player. Like this is for your, person who's going to go in even after the Easter egg and do difficult stuff after you beat the boss fight originally. So do I think any of the trials and the relics are too overpowered? I can't necessarily say because I haven't played them all, obviously, so I don't want to speak on it. And I know that people have had difficulty with that one, whether it be crashes, whether it be bugs, whether it be just game instability. That's one thing. I totally agree that that's frustrating and something that they need to look at. But it is like, hey, they told us up front, like, hey, this was going to be a difficult mode. So I don't blame them for making some of the challenges difficult.
Yeah, as somebody who's done the relic, I genuinely don't think 60 is a problem. My biggest piss off moment was the crashing because I crashed 3 times before I could even get into that challenge, and that's what really was like the big draining. Like I can't be bothered to do this anymore type of thing. Like round 60 is not bad. It's like an hour and a half, which is a pretty big setup. But again, you're going for a tier 3 relic there where you're playing a hardcore mode. I don't think there's an issue with it being tied to 60. Again, my first playthrough about the brain rot relic itself, I was really upset because it took me 45 minutes to get through 2 phases because I didn't know what was going on. And to be honest with you, at the time, most people hadn't actually done the challenge. They were just telling you how to get to that point, and nobody, because they had done it or tried different things. There are the 2 new brain rot augments that you can unlock this year that weren't in BO6 and are in BO7 now. Make that like a 5-minute thing. Like it's 4 to 5 minutes. Originally, I was like, man, this sucks. In order to do this, you'd have to like throw multiple decoys down and lead the zombies away and then pray your brain rotted doppelgas is going to go and kill the elite HVT, because that's how, nobody had done it, but they were telling you this is how it needs to be done. Like, no, with the augments, with the right augment combination there, which I, by the way, don't have a problem with. Again, this is a hardcore mode for hardcore people. If you're really dedicated to getting these, you can suck it up. I'm going to say it like that, but you can put the time in to research a few augments and grind through it to make it easier and actually unlock that stuff, because it's not the end of the world. It's not like asking you to prestige master in order to unlock something, or it's not, brain rot is locked behind a certain level, so in order to have it, you'll have to use it. But then again, that's thinking like, hey, I'm not going to prestige, but I'm going to go get the bus relic before I prestige, or I'm going to use a perma unlock like I did for brain rot in P1 because I want to get camo challenges done. That's something that's hardcore there. This ended up being a certain thing where having brain rot was good. But yeah, it's not, I don't think it's really an issue. I think that's more just like on the community as a whole for kind of overreacting to it. Again, kind of like how the boss fight was overreacted to. I think the brain rot step was too. I was upset with it until I realized, hey, there's a certain augment combination that makes this just as easy, honestly easier than the tier 2 relic challenges. You just need to have the right combination there. So yeah, in terms of it being 60, don't really mind it. Just hope the stability for the game gets better. And then for the brain rot stuff, you just got to have the right augment combination, and it's really not too bad at all. But then the PAP camos absolutely need to be universal. I put out a tweet the other day that did pretty well, and a lot of people agree with me that when you unlock it, it should, like, I like the idea of alternate Pack-a-Punch camos. I think that's super sick. It was a great idea. I think they just needed to take it a step further to say, hey, if you're in, multiplayer, you should come over here and beat the Easter egg and try to do these cursed relics to get these really sick reactive camos, because it worked in MW3. With the launch of MW3 Zombies, there was like a bone collector skin where it was like by far the coolest skin in the game for the first like month or two before the store was really hitting hard, and there was all these like crazy skins. And there were a lot of multiplayer and Warzone fans that came over to MWZ and beat like 30 hours of act challenges just to get that one skin. So people will do it. People from multiplayer and Warzone will come over, and we're so worried about the numbers and people having accessibility to beat the Easter eggs, and we need the completion rate to be up. And I think Zombies fans would agree that 0.04% is extremely low. Terminus was like 4%, 8% after Directed came out. But they absolutely should have these as universal rewards, because it'll get more people on the mode interested in Cursed, interested in Zombies as a whole. And again, you can say, it should be a Zombies only reward. I think that's gatekeeping. I don't know why, if you play either of the other two modes, that you wouldn't want, even the end game campaign. I would love to have those camos equipable on, even the regular Pack-a-Punch camos equipable on those guns in other modes, to show, hey, I'm a Zombies fan. I'm good at multiplayer too. I'm good at Warzone too. I'm just as good as you at Warzone or multiplayer, but I'm even better than you at Zombies because I did the tier 3 relics and I got the tier 3 Pack-a-Punch camos. 100% Treyarch needs to make those universal rewards, and I guarantee you if they do that, you'll see a massive increase in not only interest for Cursed, but the Easter egg completion rate go through the roof for all 3 different variations of Cursed, as well as like just the standard mode in order to get those relics unlocked.
Yeah, and just briefly here, I don't want it to seem like MZC and I are coming off as insensitive to some of the difficulty of Curse, but I think, like he said, we kind of just, we don't want to see what happened with Vaetherion.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's like, to some point you have to weigh your options. We would rather prefer something be slightly more difficult than slightly more easy. Like, I would rather have to adapt and learn and like brain rot, like the augments actually makes a big difference here. And then I understand like the round 60 is a big time commitment, but it's better that way from our perspective than just kind of sleepwalking your way through something. It just doesn't feel as rewarding. It doesn't hit the same when it's closer to the easier side than closer to the difficult side. If that makes sense.
That's exactly where my head's at with it. Again, it's not like you should get better, or you should, do this or that. Like, it's really just like, I would rather it be a longer grind and something that maybe takes people a couple days. Even myself, I do this all full time and it still took me a couple days to get all these relics. I would much rather have it be like that than cruise through this in 3 hours, than it just be like, all right, well, now I have nothing to do for the next 2 weeks until Astra Malorum drops. So yeah, I definitely think that's just not a talking down thing at all, or being insensitive. I think it's just Vaetherion 2.0, where after it gets nerfed pretty bad and it's not even the same fight now, it's like everyone's like, oh well, I actually, by the time that I got around to beating it, it felt really rewarding. And I can speak from experience where I have a guide for a solo guide for Vaetherion, where I've had a lot of people comment, as well as on Twitter and other people's tweets, say, yeah, my first 3 times through it, I was getting bent over trying to beat Vaetherion and I couldn't figure it out, but each time I got better and better, and by my 4th time I beat her, by my 5th time I beat it and I felt super rewarding. I don't think it's going to hit the same way, or I just did it after the nerf and it doesn't even feel like a challenge anymore. It's not as rewarding as had it just been really, really hard. You don't get that same like, man, I feel accomplished, or I feel like I did something. Now it just feels like you're kind of like, it's like Patient 13, especially in solo, where you're like, yeah, I mean, unless I just park the truck in the middle of the rockets and don't move, I'm not going down in solo with it. It's just that much of an easier fight. And that's kind of the same thing here with like the brain rot thing, where it's like, crashing aside, dev airing aside, server disconnect aside, once you realize that there's augments to make it easier, it's honest to God, it's one of the easier challenges in the game.
Absolutely. All right, moving along to Angelo Beta. He says, glad it's here, but my hot take is that classic points in modern mechanics low-key sucks because the high prices run antithetical to the freedom of classic points. Instead of choosing what to use depending on mood, you always grab a Kita, don't pack it, and get 200k points by round 15. This is what you're talking about, so I want to give you the floor for this for the majority of the response, but I totally agree, but I can enjoy both modes. Like, I feel like I might be me and you are in the rare subset of people that like modern mechanics and like the old school mechanics. Like, don't get me wrong. I do like loadouts. I do. I like the unlimited perk, number, stuff like that. Ammo crates. I like all that stuff. But at the same time, like, I have fond memories, and it's coming back to me in Curse with the Akita of like, okay, how do you play Kino der Toten? You open up the map, you get quick revive and spawn. You might be an M14 or Olympia debater at the front, or honestly, you go and get the MP40, you spin the box for the Thunder Gun, you train on the stage. That's how every game goes. At least that's how every game went for me, especially if you wanted to go to 100 or whatever it may be, high rounds, and that's how it always went. So I understand both differences and both dynamics of the mode, but I mean, I think what Angelo's saying here is a lot of what you're saying as well.
Yeah, I think I've kind of pretty much beat it over the head at this point at multiple points during the podcast about the classic points and how I feel about it. But yeah, it does feel like with the extremely high prices for Golden Armor and Pack 4, it's almost just forcing you to not want to pack a punch and play specifically around just grabbing. Right now, it's the shotguns are the big point builders because
everybody's just going to get the Akita. It's like this is meta at this point. There's only really one way to play
exactly. And even if they just say, hey, we're going to nerf the points on the Akita or on the shotguns, now you're just like, well, it's going to take me even longer to build up these points. I don't know. It's a weird situation that they're in. Obviously, there's going to be a meta for everything there was back in the day. There is now. It just is like, I don't know. It's a fun playthrough every once in a while, when you're going for the relics specifically. It's just now that we're getting towards at least I am getting towards the end of Cursed, where there's only one relic to be found. I've done the round 60s, the round 40s, the round 20s, and played, put 24 hours plus into the mode. It's starting to get to the point where it's like, well, I don't know, the gimmick's not wearing off for me, because like I said, it is nice to switch back and forth and be like, hey, I just played for 8 hours straight Van Dorn Farm or Ashes of the Damned. I think I'm going to play some Cursed and spawn in with a pistol and go play it like the mystery box. But it's, again, for me personally, it just seems like it's becoming more of a gimmick rather than this is how I prefer to play the game. And that's totally fine. Like we've said all the time, like that's just people that prefer it one way or another, and having both in the same game is great for options. There's no, hey, let's change things. A trader doesn't have to come in here and go, let's change things up to, change the points or da-da-da-da. Like, it's nice to have both options. It's for some people. It's not for some people. For others, it might just be a fun little side mode every once in a while. There you go. Like, that's that. But
that's back to my point with the longevity of it, like projecting throughout the life cycle of this game, because like once I'm done with every camo that I want to get, once I'm done with Infestation, once I have the calling cards that I want to get, once I have the mastery badges out of the way, like, yeah, it does sound kind of nice. Like when we were basically looking at each other square in the face every night of our lives, and not to discredit Black Ops 6, but like by the time Reckoning came around, it's like, okay, I'm kind of doing this egg, and then, that's pretty much it. Like, what's the incentive to play afterwards? Where it's like, okay.
How many people have been banned tonight over in ranked? Is it safe to play? Am I going to get fucking joked?
Yeah, literally.
Am I gonna get cheated on by people playing ranked, or maybe I just don't play
like playing
tonight?
Resurgence. I like playing Warzone and Resurgence as much as the next guy, but how many of those Resurgent nights that we had are we probably going to be playing like DLC 4, DLC 5, getting the relics in Cursed, and then just like, oh, it might be, I'm not burnt out on the map 2 weeks after it comes out because I could just switch over and play a different mode. Right, so that's where I think it really could shine, where it's like, hey, this has to be a DLC thing with the same amount of importance and the same amount of structure and strategy that we've seen in Ashes of the Damned, or it just doesn't work throughout the whole game's life cycle. Could be wrong, but I feel very strongly about that through just, bouncing thoughts, just between ourselves here in this episode, where it's like, hey, I think this mode really shines and really has a big pick me up in these later DLCs. So, and even too, like, I get it would be from the classic era, but like imagine remakes with this system. I think this gives remakes or remasters, whatever you want to call it. I think it gives them a whole new like soul and lifestyle, where it's like, hey, I'm not just going to port in a Shangri-La, but there's going to be different stuff around the map that it might be easy to develop, might be easy to just put in stuff here and there. Maybe you don't get 9 relics on some of the older maps because they're not as big as Ashes of the Damned or some of the offerings we're going to get moving forward in Black Ops 7. But it's like, imagine like a Chronicles 2.0 with Cursed integrated into
That'd
it.
be
Like
sick.
that is
That'd be
exciting
sick.
to me.
Yeah,
That'd be sick.
absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
Absolutely.
saying. You kind of relive the map and you kind of get a new understanding and a new love for the map with Cursed. So they got something here. They got, I don't know how much they got, but they got something.
It doesn't need to go. I know, like, this is probably, I don't want to say it's been a more negative episode. It's just like with the last one,
right down the middle.
Right down the middle. The last one we did, I feel like it was like, especially for me, I was like, oh, dude, Ashes of the Dam's fucking S+ tier map. It's amazing. Everything they've hit, every fucking bright button has been pushed here. With Cursed, I'm kind of like, yeah, I don't know about the points, but like I kind of felt that way going into it. I kind of felt like I'd have an issue, like not an issue, but I would. You know, I felt like it was going to kind of get to this point where it's like, okay, now it's just becoming like, I don't really want to keep shooting class, but that's my own personal opinion on the classic points mode. Now, if you were, like you're saying, introduce like Chronicles maps or survival maps or future maps and later DLCs where it's, you know, not just Ashes of the Damned and, you know, I'm not burnt out and like there's new stuff to do, there's new relics to find. Obviously this is going to age well. It's going to be a good mode that's going to stand withstand the test of time, and with like something like if they were to do a Chronicles 2 would be the perfect hybrid where you can say, hey, if you don't want to play Cursed and you don't want these negative modifiers and you just want to have like the, let's say, you know, Shinonuma Reborn on Vanguard, right? That was a completely classic, or, you know, it was a classic map with a completely modern take on it with all the different, the crafting table. I don't think they were salvaged in that game, but like, you know, the Pack-a-Punch rarities, the perk rarities, the, what was the other one? There's like modifiers you could get in that game too. I can't remember the Covenants for Vanguard. Like that's, you know, but it was the best version of Shinonuma in my opinion. You know, there's a Wonderwap quest, there was an Easter egg. Like it was a sick reimagining of the map that played well in modern, but it would have been cool to get like a classic mode or a cursed mode where, okay, there's no covenants, there's only one level of, there's only one tier of perks, there's, you know, only one Pack-a-Punch or whatever. Like that would have been sick to get there. And I think that with Cursed and the ability to play standard, having both those options for Chronicles 2, I think that would eliminate a lot of the fear of the communities too, being like, hey, is Shadows of Evil going to be ruined in the modern mechanics, or is Horizon Drac going to play the same way, or would Origins play the same way? All right, well, if you don't like standard and you think it is ruined, now there's Cursed where you can just spawn it with a pistol. You know, you've got your modifiers. You don't have to have all these different things. You can just play with 4 perks. Like that's cool, and I think that really gives them the opportunity to actually take it a step further, and just aside from being like a side mode or an alternate way to experience the maps, it could actually bring a real nice balance between the, okay, we want a Chronicles, but I don't want it to be on the modern mechanics, and okay, I don't mind it being updated for the modern mechanics. So I think they have like the perfect hybrid mode is right here. The balance of both, the best of both worlds is right here. Hopefully nothing happens during the life cycle of this game where we don't get to see it hit its full potential, but I think that we could have a really nice hub for the next 2-3 years. If we're not getting another Zombies until 2028, I think we're in a really good spot right now as Zombies fans with this, the balance between standard and cursed mode. And moving forward, if there's potential for something like that, or maybe a remake here or there, it'd be really nice to see it in cursed, and I think it'd be a good balance.
I totally agree with you. Number 1, I would not be surprised. Number 2, I would not blame Treyarch if they're nervous, and they have been nervous about bringing some of the older maps back because they don't know how the community is going to receive it with the modern system. Okay, here's your perfect bridge to do so, in my opinion. You could have your cake and eat it too. It's rare, but Cursed gives you that option.
Do it. If you're a dev and you're watching, do it. Just drop the map. Like, don't even worry
it's
about
interesting.
it. Vanguard, seriously, you know, the whole, anybody that played, like the people that didn't play Vanguard are going, oh, Vanguard's the worst game of all time. It is. It's not good. It's not a good Zombies experience, in my opinion. But the one gem of Vanguard was Shinonuma Reborn.
You always said that.
Know, from the day that it came out, I was like, bro, this is the best Shinonuma they've ever made. The Wonderwap quest is super sick. Like, imagine if they dropped, I don't know, I don't want to use like Durice again as an example. Let's say they did Kino der Toten, but it was strictly just Kino der Toten with maybe one extra area added in. Maybe there's like, you know, you can go out on the street, or there's like a back room or something. There's like one small little area that kind of makes the map flow a little bit better, so it's easier to get from one side to another. And then they add like a Thunder Gun quest in, where it's not just spin the box, but there's like a jet gun style of quest where you run around the map and do a few things, and you can build the Thunder Gun rather than it just being the box. But they don't. That's like the only thing they change, and maybe there's a small Easter egg. Perfect, like perfect way to kind of bring it back, breathe some new life into it, but don't completely ruin the core experience of what Kino was outside of just a quest here and there. So yeah, dude, it's there's a lot of potential here. I think they could really knock it out of the park. But if you just don't be afraid to do it, because the community is going to, I don't know if I like that. I don't know how I feel about it. Just do it. This is your best opportunity to do something like that with a mode like Cursed. Obviously, 2028 is the 20th anniversary of Zombies. If it doesn't happen this year, 2028 is the last year I'd say we ever see a chance potential for Chronicles. But if they've got 1 or 2 or 3 remasters on a flash drive sitting somewhere that can easily be ported over here, do it. Just let it fly. It'll play real well. You got the Curse now to kind of balance out those negative people that think it won't play the same way. Perfect. Go for it. Do it. Just let it fly.
All right. Interesting. Didn't know we were going to get into that area, but glad we did. I'm glad we did, because it makes a lot of sense. But last but not least, here with the community corner, we have this from Mr. L. He says, despite the price hike on Pack-a-Punch, Cursed is a fun return to form on what made old school Zombies fun. Oh, and thank God for no minimap or directional markers. I know they can be turned off by default, but Cursed makes learning the map of Ashes a lot more fun. 2 things here, MZC, before I throw it to you. Number 1, I totally agree with Mr. L. Even like I said, with the generators, the spore generators, turn on the power all the way through the Necrofluid Gauntlet building, part of the map. It does make learning Ashes more fun. It does make doing that part of the map more fun to me in Cursed. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know what it is, but I just totally agree with what Mr. L said there. 2, before I throw it over to you. I love this community corner. It might be my favorite community corner that we've done so far on the show, because we have 4 comments here. We have 4 replies to your tweet over on X, and they're all 4 totally different. Yep. Still talking about Cursed, but I think that's exactly what Treyarch was going for here. Something that could appeal to, even though it is a small subset of players, but it appeals to a lot of different individual things within that smaller group, and it has the community talking. Maybe it's not all positive, but I think the majority of it is positive about the mode, at least giving the respect for them trying, attempting to put something out there like this. But we have 4 comments here where people are talking about different things, that they like or that they don't like, maybe how they could be improved, maybe what needs to stay the same. And it's a good, healthy discussion where it's like people just, they just threw this at us and they didn't even care about it, this and that. Haven't heard any of that, haven't seen any of that. Great community corner here for sure, rounding out with Mr. L.
100%. Yeah, it's a nice mix. I'm sure if we go back and look at more of the tweets, there'll be even more of this. Again, back-to-back community corners where I feel like the general sentiment on the game is good. Like last year when we did these, or in with BO6, especially like Reckoning, leading up to BO7, even before that with Grief, it was always like one person being like, "I love this, it's so great," and the other person being like, "It's the worst thing in the world. It's a piece of dog shit. Throw it away. Modern sucks. All that stuff." But the first 2 of these, like through 2 weeks, it seems like everything's been super positive. We didn't even talk about Astra Malorum. We didn't even talk about the intro. I'm sure like this week we had a blog post and a gameplay trailer. So this coming week's podcast will be about that. But so far through 2 weeks of the game, it seems like everyone's really hyped about this. Everyone's liking where we're going here, and things are good. But yeah, Mr. L, I definitely agree. It's a fun return to form. You spawn in with that pistol. You kind of run through things like it's 2008 again, 2010 again. And yeah, even in standard mode, I've turned off the directional markers. I do like kind of leaving the compass on. This year it's grown on me, the compass. I like being able to see like what POI I'm at. It's not really like in your face up there, it's not like taking it up half the screen like the mini map, but the compass is low-key, can stay on when we play these modes. But yeah, what you're saying about the Necrofluid Gauntlet quest and the generators, I think what makes it special is on the lower rounds you don't have a powerful enough weapon to make it seem like you can just, if you spawn in with the Akita or the Echo, or I don't even know what other good weapons, like the whatever, you spawn in with a good weapon with 8 attachments, you just go through and blow through the spores with minimal difficulty whatsoever, and the gun is powerful. But when you're doing it with the Jaeger or whatever pistol you get when you first start out, it's a challenge. You have to go and buy ammo. You have no idea how much time is left is on the generator, so you have to move quick. It has to be your main focus. There's none of this like, I can kill some zombies and then get back to you got to focus on the generators. And then for the actual quest itself, like again, you have no idea how much time is on the canister when you're filling it up with the generators. You're not constantly looking at that when it pops up. It's a nice way to play that makes you feel like classic Zombies. I think the only thing I would suggest for that would be either adding in the generator a way to see it like fill up so that like when it's getting close without there being like a percentage bar on the side of your screen. I feel like that's something that classic zombies, I guess it didn't. The dogs from Mob of the Dead, but you knew you had 6 zombies to kill, so that was your thing. I don't know. It's fine as it is. There's nothing really there. It's just me yapping at this point. But yeah, definitely cool to kind of have that experience be different, where it's more of a challenge to even just get the power on in Cursed than it is in Standard. So definitely feel like we're on the same page there.
Absolutely, 100%. Well, Clutch Squad, appreciate you guys tuning in for Perkaholics Anonymous podcast, episode 22, chugging along here, Black Ops 7 Zombies. Like MZC just said there, feels like it's in a really good place. We can't wait to see what happens with Asher Malorum. Obviously, already got, amazing cinematic for the upcoming, DLC 1 release. But yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in, making here this long. Make sure you're out there staying safe, make sure you're staying hydrated, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.